Okay, I am going to rename myself Alana Schramm at Alana Moves. Alana Moves, alanaschramm.com. You have all the things. Hello. It looks like we have some people logging on. Hello, how's it going? So excited to be here with you all. How is everyone doing? So there is a chat button at the bottom, and I'm going to be asking you guys some questions. So totally feel free to click on the chat so that you can answer the question. Like, we can just kind of get to know each other and have fun connecting. So good. So before we get started, I wanted to give a quick shout out to the Life Coach University's Pay It Forward platform, which is this platform that I'm on right now. Basically, a bunch of coaches from around the world come on and just basically give free coaching and do coaching presentations, basically with the idea that we can just create more joy and more kindness, right? So the payment for this webinar is totally free. And maybe all that is required is like, you can maybe think of ways that you can pay forward with kindness. Like maybe you can give someone a compliment or smile at someone, or basically whatever it is you want, so that we can totally create more joy, which as a joy coach, that is totally what I'm all about. All right, so as we're waiting for people to trickle in, you can maybe put in the chat where you're all coming from. So there's a few of you kind of curious. Where are you all from? So you can see the chat on the bottom. Okay, we have England, how fun, Northern California, Texas. Oh, we have all of the places. I'm in Vancouver, so we're kind of like representing North America here, mostly, looks like. New York, so good. All right, so as people are typing in where they're from, Florida. All right, nice to see you here. I am going to just quickly introduce myself and basically this webinar. So I am Alana Schramm. I'm a joy and intuition coach. And this webinar is about that. It's about creating more joy, and specifically how to create more joy by befriending fear. So fear kind of gets a bit of a bad rap because it kind of feels terrible, but it's actually a really amazing tool that we can use when we change our relationship to it. So this webinar is 60 minutes. I'm going to be doing some talking, and then we can do some live coaching if there's time. But totally feel free to type in your questions at any moment during the webinar. And then for the live coaching, later on, I'll ask you to raise your little Zoom hand if you want to do that. All right, so as we get started, I'm going to ask you, oh, Meg, hey, Meg the Nomad from Vermont, so fun. All right, so in the chat, I want you to, what is a thing that brings you joy? What is something that you do that brings you joy? Maybe it's someone you spending time with someone, maybe it's an activity. What is a thing that brings you joy currently? And if you can't think of anything for right now, it might be when you were a kid, maybe something that brings you joy. For me, totally dancing. Oh, Grace, yeah, totally, right? Dance is such an amazing activity for joy. Laughing with friends, totally. Dancing, yeah. Oh my gosh, honestly, like totally, like just my opinion, but dancing is totally the best. And if you're not all dancing, totally get on that. So as you're writing down what brings you joy, think about what is it about that thing that creates the joy? Why do you think that that thing that you do, that you love to do, is creating the joy? Oh, music, campfires, bike rides, my pup, hiking, tarot card read. Oh, that's cool, tarot card readings. Yeah, totally. So thinking about why does that thing create joy? And what you might notice is that when you're feeling joy is when you're feeling totally connected to yourself and to the moment. So we're not just doing from a mental space, but we're actually being, like being who we truly are. When we're in that space of being and not in our minds, then that's what is creating this experience of joy. Free expression of what words can't capture, flow of the rest. Oh my gosh, beautifully said. All right, Grace, you can host the next webinar. Like that's perfectly captured, totally, right? And so when we're thinking about creating more joy in our lives, totally we can do the things that already bring us joy, but we can also search for more things that we haven't done yet, that we haven't discovered yet about ourselves, that bring us joy that we don't even know that we can experience at this moment. So part of the problem, though, is that we've been conditioned to ignore those things if they don't match with societal expectations. So I don't know, for example, like, let's say you wanted to wear some like super bright makeup, but your family's conservative. Hello. Then there's going to be like a bit of a tension that gets created. And that's like where fear comes in. When the things we want to do don't match societal expectation, then we create this generation of fear. And so then we can see that fear is actually an incredible tool for growth and joy, because it kind of gives us this little hint of like, hey, this might be something that I want to do. And at the same time, it's kind of an unpleasant experience. And so I wanted to do this webinar to kind of navigate that experience of like, there's this thing that I want to do, but I have this fear that's preventing me from doing it. And for me, this is such an important topic because it's the thing that totally changed my life. Growing up, I had so much fear, like even asking or like talking to a store clerk. I literally had to ask my mom to ask for my size in a shirt because I was so scared of even talking to store clerks. And that was basically kind of how I operated my life in a lot of ways, which created a basically pretty blah life. You know, it's like basically nothing was wrong with it. It was okay. But at the same time, I knew that I had so much potential. And I think that's kind of true of all of us, right? Like we all know that we have so much potential, even if our brains are saying stories about like, you can't do it or whatever. Like we all have this innate belief that we can create so much more than we already have. And I think this is like such an important thing to notice, right? Like even if you're feeling unsatisfied with your life, that's also kind of an indication of like, hey, I can actually create so much more. I know that I'm destined for more, otherwise I'd just be satisfied. And so, but for me, like every time life handed me an opportunity to grow, I hid away because I was so afraid and I didn't know how to deal with that fear. And so that's the thing, right? Is that growth and fear go hand in hand. They're two sides of the same coin. And so I want to talk about why it is that we feel fear, and then the 4 stages of fear and how to navigate through all of them. And knowing about the 4 stages and being able to go through them has allowed me to do things that I totally had no idea I could even do, like leaving my full-time job to start my business and do coaching full-time, wearing brighter makeup when I was kind of like shy girl in the corner, or like dancing alone sober in public, and also asking the store clerk for my size in shirts, like totally something that I could do. And also webinars, right? Like totally something that was so beyond terrifying, which is something that I can totally do, even though there might still be some fear there. So, okay, what is fear? So fear is obviously an emotion, and it's created in the brain when the brain is trying to keep us safe from a real or perceived threat. So one of the biggest fears we have is fear of the unknown or fear of certainty. So if we think about prehistoric times, like we can think about, let's say, a berry bush. Let's say there's this berry bush over here, and people in our community have tried the berries from this bush, eaten the berries and not died. They've like vetted that there are no secret tigers like hiding behind the bush. And so that berry bush was totally safe. And because we knew about it, we could go there and not die. And then this berry bush over here that no one had tried the berries of and didn't know if there were lurking tigers, those of us that went towards that would die, right? So the fear of preventing us from doing the unknown was actually such an amazing evolutionary advantage. And so even though we don't have those types of dangers today, our brain, we still have that brain, right? That primitive brain. We have like other parts of our brains that have developed, but we still have that primitive brain that creates fear to protect us from things that we don't know, right? Basically potential death. So there's what we know that feels safe over here. There's what we don't know that doesn't feel safe. Over here, there's no fear. Over here, there is the fear, because our brains have literally evolved to be like, don't go over there. That could be poisonous. There could be tigers. You could die. Stay over here where it's safe. So whenever we do something we don't know, like we're literally just always going to be afraid. It's just a part of the process. It's coming along for the ride. So if we want to grow, which means we're doing new things, that means that we have to then learn, how do we manage the fear? How do we create a relationship with fear where it's not holding us back? All right, so that being said, I want you to put in the chat, what is something that you want to do, but that you feel afraid of doing? Wait for your answers. For me, totally doing webinars at one point. Yeah, social media, yeah, posting on social media, totally. So such a scary thing actually for your brain. Literally doesn't know the difference between posting words and a tiger could come and get you, right? It's like literally the same experience for the brain. Go driving in England on the narrow country roads. Yeah, that sounds actually terrifying. Yeah. Okay, going sober. Yeah, totally. Yeah, there can be like things that, even though there's no actual danger, well, driving on the narrow country road sounds perhaps dangerous. Quitting the 9-to-5 job and jumping into a new career path. Right. So like perhaps we know that none of those things are going to kill us. I don't know about Deanna, I don't know about the driving though, but none of those things are like going to kill us, but our brains still create that experience as though it is going to kill us. Like that's literally what it feels like in our body. And so I'm going to explain now the 4 different stages, and then you can maybe use those things that you've posted there and sort of see like, what stage are you in? All right, so there's 4 stages, and I've created this, I have to say this myself, amazing acronym. It's FEAR, so it's FEAR. So stage 1, F, is freaking out. So we're thinking of the thing we want to do, and then we freak out because fear comes up and we're like, oh my God, I don't want to feel this fear, so let me run away. And I don't know what your guys' thing is. For me, it's definitely Netflix and scrolling. Oh, thanks, Diane, for posting F for freaking out. Yeah, so watching Netflix, scrolling, basically trying to go away from the fear and basically do everything except the thing that I want to do. So let's say, for example, the posting on social media. Maybe I have the posting on my calendar and instead I'm like, oh no, this feels really terrible. I think I'm just going to, you know, I don't know, like eat some chocolate cake instead, right? That's like such a normal thing to do. Remember, right? Because the brain, Downton Abbey, yeah, 100,000%. Because the brain has literally evolved to be like, oh, posting, that's going to kill us. We don't know that that's safe. Stay over here with the Netflix, with the Downton Abbey, with the chocolate cake where it's safe, where you won't die. Like literally our brains have evolved to do that, right? And so in this stage, we're kind of judging ourselves because we haven't done anything. Ice cream, yes, 100% ice cream. Yeah, so this is the first stage, right? Where fear is basically paralyzing, and then maybe there's some judgment about the fear being there in the first place. And so it's good to know what you do in this stage. So it's amazing. Some of you have like posted what your avoidance strategies are. So it's kind of good to just know what they are. So they can kind of give you cues of like, oh, okay, I'm in stage 1. So the antidote to this stage is literally just becoming aware that it's an actual stage. Like we think that we are not in the process of this, like of taking action, of like starting the thing we want to do because we haven't taken action. But literally, this is the first step. Like, remember, the brain wants to keep us safe, so it's generating fear. And so having a response to the fear is normal. Because if you think about it, if there's fear, it means that you've started, right? Like, if you didn't have fear, it means you wouldn't even be considering doing the thing. The fact that fear has arisen means that somewhere in your consciousness, you've almost like started the process, at least internally, at least mentally, that you're going to do it. So maybe the creation of the possibility, the creation of that reality has started. And so that's why there's fear, because the brain is like, oh no, she's gonna do it. Quick, reel her back, send out the fear so that she doesn't do the thing. And so sometimes we think that the presence of fear means we're doing something wrong. But actually feeling fear is an amazing indication that we've already started. And it's the most important step because it's the first step. So you can kind of think of, even though it's like the tiniest little step, the difference, like let's say it's 1% of the 100% of the whole thing that you want to do, like the difference from 0 to 1, like how many times 0 do you need to times to get 1? Like 0 times anything is 0. So literally from 0 to 1, it's like an infinite jump. From 1 to 10, from 1 to 100, it's like times 10 times 100. They're just incremental stages. But from 0 to 1, like that gap is like, the fact that you have fear is such an amazing thing. So the antidote to stage 1 is to just recognize, okay, nothing has gone wrong. I've actually already started. The fact that the fear is here is a sign that I'm on the right path. So that is F. The next stage is E for expecting. So at this stage, we kind of realize like, oh, the fear is not going away. So there's like in stage 1, this sort of thought of, maybe if I wait long enough, if I like watch enough Downton Abbey, maybe at that point the fear will go away. But we kind of we do that and we recognize, oh, every time I stop the episode, I'm still feeling the fear. And so then the brain is like, okay, the fear is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. And so then there's the accepting of, I'm not going to be able to do this thing without crossing over to the fear. It's kind of like this rickety bridge between two cliffs. Like I live in Vancouver, we have a suspension bridge. Have you guys ever been on a suspension bridge? Oh, let me see what Dan said. I love that. When I feel fear, that it actually means I've started. Yeah, totally. Basically, now I can see fear as an indicator that I'm going to do this thing. Brilliant. Yeah, it is brilliant, right? Like so amazing that the fear is there. But yeah, so basically, like if you've ever been on a suspension bridge, like there's this rickety old bridge between two, like over an abyss, and in your brain, you're like, you know that it's safe. If you've ever been on a suspension bridge, you know that it's safe. Maybe you've seen people do it, and maybe you've even done it before, but it just looks like when you're walking, like it could just collapse. And so you know intellectually it's safe, but when you're doing it yourself, it just feels terrifying. And that's just the way that it is. So the bridge isn't actually dangerous, but the experience of it is, you feel it as though it is, right? That's how the brain works. So the antidote to that is to recognize that, yes, fear is totally uncomfortable, but it's like, regardless of doing it or not doing it, there is going to be discomfort either way, right? There's either the discomfort of the fear if we do the thing, but if we don't do the thing, there's also a kind of discomfort there as well, right? The discomfort of knowing that you can do more and not living up to your potential, right? Or maybe like the discomfort of wanting to create like this life that you love so much and you're not giving that to yourself. So the bad news is that there's discomfort either way, but the good news is you get to choose which flavor of discomfort is the one you want to experience. And so one amazing way to kind of process through the fear when it comes up, because you're going to be feeling discomfort either way. So whichever one you choose, you can kind of like let your body see or let your brain see what is so uncomfortable, right? So let's do this like quick exercise. I can't see you, so I don't know if you'll do it. I'm just going to imagine that you guys are doing it. Is imagine the thing that you're afraid of doing it, that you're afraid of doing. You can like imagine yourself doing it. And then take a deep breath. And then just check in with your body and see if you can locate where the fear is. Okay, so for me, I can feel it kind of like a tire around my waist. It's like this gripping sensation. And maybe there's like, it's like a 4 out of 10. And when you do this, when you check in and see what it feels like, then it kind of neutralizes it a little bit, because your brain is like, we don't want to feel this horrible thing. But when you actually let yourself feel it, it's like, it's not comfortable, but it's like, oh, this is the thing. This 4 out of 10 tire around my waist, this is the thing that I'm not wanting to feel so that I'm giving up my dreams for. Or in other words, this is like the payment for my dreams. Am I willing to just experience this tire here in order to create my dreams? So I'd love to see if anyone had done this exercise, like where is it in your body? Do you feel the fear? Okay. Let's see. I can feel it in my throat and my fingers start to feel numb, 10 out of 10. Yeah, okay, so the throat. Yeah, and it's really powerful to kind of start kind of like recognizing where it comes from. Again, it's just like more cues from your body. Then you can just know next time, like the more and more, like I've now become very like conscious of this tire every time it comes up. There's a little less like fear about the fear because I'm like, oh yeah, this tire again. Yeah, so sternum, heart palpitations. In my heart, it's a giant fluttery butterfly, maybe 7 out of 10. Chest in my throat is tight. Yeah, amazing. So it's like those feelings, perhaps like not the favorite feeling that ever existed in the world, but it's like, are you willing to feel that to create a life that you're so passionate about? Maybe. Could be interesting, right? Like this is the worst of it. This like for the giant butterfly, 7 out of 10 in the heart. Like, are you willing to feel that to create a life that you love so much, right? Something, it's kind of interesting, right? When you sort of like place it as, this is the worst of it. This is the thing that I don't want to feel. It's just this feeling in my body. All right, so that we did F for freaking out, E for expecting the fear, stage 3A for aliveness. And aliveness, I mean two things. First of all, one that like you're literally alive. So you've taken the action and you are alive, which sounds kind of funny. But again, your brain is really thinking that you are going to die. And so when you do the thing and you are alive at the end of doing it, your brain starts understanding like, oh, okay, this thing is not going to kill me. It's like almost starting to put it in this like safe bush category, right? It's starting to get on board. Okay, maybe it's safe. And then on top of that, the second aliveness that comes is like the aliveness of the exhilaration of like, oh my gosh, I did this thing. Like because you've overcome the fear. Like if you've ever been to an amusement park, and been to on a roller coaster, there's like so much fear and there's also so much exhilaration and fun if you like roller coasters. And comparing that to the like the teacups, you know, do you guys have that in the States? Like the little teacups that you can turn and it's like really gentle and like right? There's like, it's fun too, but it's like totally doesn't have that same aliveness that a roller coaster could potentially create for you. So then we can kind of see that the fear actually helps create that exhilaration, right? And so the antidote to this stage is, well, we don't really need one because it basically feels amazing over here, but it can be really nice to tune in and remember what it feels like when you've completed the thing that was so scary. What did that feel like? So we can maybe do that right now. Think of a scary thing that you did, like either recently or a long time ago, and what was the emotion that came up when you did that thing? Okay, teacups make me more sick. The spinning is not my friend, but I love roller coaster. Okay, maybe not the best analogy for all, but yes. Right, so what was the emotion that came up when you did the scary thing? Like maybe it was pride in yourself or fun or relief. For me, totally relief and pride are like the main ones, 100%. It actually feels so good too. It actually feels so good to like have the fear and then have the like, oh my God, I did the thing, proud of myself. Yeah, definitely pride and relief, belief. Yeah, right? It feels so good actually to do the thing. Growth, oh, I love that as a feeling. Growth as a feeling, I love that. Really proud and a huge opening and wanting to do more. A huge opening. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, amazing. So that's this third stage, A for aliveness. And then the last stage, R, is releasing and repeating. Okay, I guess it's technically fear, but we'll just have the last R stand for the two R's, releasing and repeating. So at this point, your primitive brain has fully gotten enough evidence of you doing the thing. Like perhaps you've done the thing a few times, maybe one time is enough for your brain, sometimes a few times, but you've done it enough and stayed alive enough that your brain has seen, okay, this thing that we do, we're not going to die. And so the primitive brain then expands to allow this item into the safe bush category and can now release the fear because it doesn't need to protect you from it because it now knows that it's safe to do this thing. And so now your identity has expanded to include this thing, and you can be a little bit more of who you are. And then there's the joy of having expanded, because joy, again, is becoming more of who you are. And then from that place, there's this realization of like, oh, damn, I can kind of do anything. Like if I am willing to feel the fear, I can literally do anything. And so then that like almost motivates us to repeat the cycle with a new thing. Like maybe the posts are not as scary anymore. And so I can do the, I don't know, Facebook Live or whatever it is, right? And so then we repeat that with a new thing and then the next thing and the next thing. And because though this specific thing is not scary anymore, still the brain is still the brain and is going to keep creating fear for any new thing, right? So like maybe the Facebook Live hasn't yet made its way into the safe bush category. But as we've seen, it's totally not a problem, even if the fear comes up. And it's actually kind of the opposite, because it's not even this unfortunate thing, the fear, right? That it's not even this unfortunate thing that we need to go through, because it's literally the presence of that fear that creates the growth. Without the fear, there literally would be no growth. So we kind of start seeing that fear is this incredible, almost like dashboard alert. It's like a nudge from your inner knowing that this might be a thing that you want to do. So I was thinking about kind of like a silly example. There's like hypothetically wearing a clown outfit to the mall. It's kind of like could be hypothetically scary, but to me it's not scary at all. It's just kind of funny and ridiculous because it's literally not something that I want to do. So the fear shows you where there's some expansion that you could actually want to do, right? It's like we can start using the fear as this like indication of like, if there's no danger, right? Because fear also shows up when there's danger. If there's no danger in this thing, do I maybe want to do this thing, right? And then the fun thing is the more we go through the stages, this meta thing happens where the brain sort of stops fearing the stages of fear itself, and then it can go through the stages, the 4 stages even more quickly. And our ability to move through these stages is going to determine our growth and the way our life looks, and that our life is more and more matched to who we really are. So what I want to leave you with is, what if you could be friends with fear? Like instead of fighting with it, instead of thinking that it's wrong or that you're wrong for having it, maybe we could see it as this amazing protector from actual danger. Like if there's an actual tiger chasing you, isn't it so amazing to have the fear to propel you to run away? An actual protector, and also maybe an ally, a loving ally showing us where specifically we want to grow and expand. Okay, fear pointing us in the direction we want to grow. Love that. Yeah, totally. So if that was the case, if fear was could actually be our friend or our ally, if we were willing to partner with fear and use it as just information from our inner knowing, information from our most expanded self about like what direction is going to take us closer and closer to where we actually want to grow to, what is it that you wouldn't be willing to do? What would your life look like if you fully embraced the fear, right? That could be like a really interesting question to think about. I just had a vision of me marrying my fear. That is amazing. Okay. Maybe the next webinar will be like fear marriage celebration. I love it. Yes. So if you don't take away anything from this webinar, I want you to at least take away that you do not have to beat yourself up for not getting things done. If you're feeling fear and not doing things because of the fear, there's literally nothing wrong with you. All it shows is that you have a normally functioning brain. Just like hearts are meant for beating, primitive brains are meant for protecting you from doing new things, right? Like that's just the way the brain works now and forever. And it doesn't mean anything about our ability to create the exact life that we want. So for those of you who want to take this work deeper and actually apply this, I have a 5-month program where we work together to hear your inner voice, learn how to hear your intuition, and then learn how to use your mindset to help you navigate the disempowering thoughts or negative emotions, like perhaps fear, that might be preventing you from showing up the way you want and creating the life that actually lights you up, kind of like what we did in this webinar. Yeah. And so to be clear, right, like negative emotions are just always going to be there because we have a human brain that is going to process information in different ways. But if we can learn how to manage our brains and learn how to manage our emotions and even create friendships with them, create friendship with the parts of ourselves that we've been judging or rejecting, we can actually see that they give so much information. They're not just like, oh, these terrible things that happen, but these like beloved different selves that can tell us a lot of it, like a lot more about ourselves that we don't yet know. So if that's interesting to you, you can book a consult through my Instagram or my website. And I have put the different things in my name down here on the Zoom screen. Or you can just follow me on Instagram. I'd love to see you there. Okay, what's this message? Hearts are meant for beating and primitive brains are meant for protecting. Yeah, totally. Beautiful quote, if I do say so myself. All right, so we have 30 minutes left. If you guys have any questions or want any coaching, can totally do that. Gonna let you see if there's any questions. Oh, I should just spill this water. Or if you don't have any questions, I wonder what your biggest takeaway is. Oh, if you do want live coaching, you can raise your little Zoom hand on the bottom. There's like a little hand that looks like this that says raise hands. Let's see. Right, I'm gonna leave the chat open for a few more minutes. And if not, okay, biggest takeaway is that fear means I've already started. Yeah. I love that. That one was actually the biggest changer for me also. Already started. Yeah, our inner voice can give us so much information, give us so much guidance if we're not rejecting her signals, right? Like fear is an amazing nudge from our inner voice, actually. And when we kind of like tune in and see what's hiding underneath the fear, which is AKA like, hey, this thing you might want to do that your primitive brain is preventing you from doing, it's like we can actually create a more expanded life. Yes. All right, I'm going to, presence of fear is a dashboard alert. Let's go create and expand. Yes, Grace, love your energy. Amazing. Brilliant, Alana, you are just brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful reframe on fear. I really, really love that the freaking out is the first signal in leading you to what you want. Totally. Right. So here's what I might offer is like, maybe even if you don't necessarily do the things, it could just be interesting to like notice the fear in your life and just like notice what are the things that you might want to do, right? Like thinking about creating so much joy in your life, more of who you are. And sometimes we're like, I don't know, like, I remember for me, it's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, things are fine. I don't really know what I could do to create more joy. I mean, everything's totally kind of okay. I didn't even know how to start looking for things, but like using fear as that cue can be such a powerful, right? Like such a powerful little tool we can use. So, right, the fear acronym is really useful, right? Okay, you guys, like figured that out last night. I had like done the presentation. I was like, oh my gosh, it actually works in the acronym. So good job, self. All right. If there's no more questions or comments, I am going to wish you the most amazing evening. And just to close out, again, this is part of the Pay It Forward platform. So it might be interesting to think about how could I pay this forward, right? Like if there's something you've learned, how can I create a little bit more kindness in the world? It could even be like, how could I create a little bit more kindness towards my own fear or towards my own self for feeling fear about the fear or for like rejecting the fear? Maybe there's like an opportunity for kindness even within the self, right? All right, Grace loves that. Yay, Grace. All right, so much fun spending tonight with you guys. I hope you have an amazing, amazing evening. And I will see you at the next webinar. The next one, actually, I'm doing in 2 weeks, is going to be the same, basically this topic, but there will be more webinars on the Life Coach University's website from me and from also other coaches. So totally go and check it out. There are amazing coaches from all around the world doing amazing presentations, amazing coaching. So totally recommend you go and check it out. Yay, I'm so glad that it was helpful. Yay, have an amazing Thursday and I will see you, or Friday if you're in the UK, I think, or maybe you're still. Anyways, have an amazing day and I will see you next time. Bye.